It was a chilly morning when little Emma spotted something moving near a trash bin, barely alive, shivering and too weak to bark. A starving puppy, its ribs visible, struggled to lift its head. Most people walked past without noticing, but Emma stopped. She knelt beside it, her tiny hands trembling as she whispered, "Don't be scared. I'll help you." What she didn't know was that this simple act of kindness would change both their lives forever. But as days passed, the puppy's mysterious behavior began revealing a heartbreaking truth that no one could have imagined. Stay until the end. What this little girl discovered will leave you in tears. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious. Where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The afternoon sun cast a golden hue across the narrow alley as 6-year-old Emma skipped home from school, her pink dress fluttering with each step. She loved taking the shortcut. It was quiet, filled with echoes of her laughter and the distant hum of city life. But today felt different. A faint, pitiful sound reached her ears. A whimper, soft yet desperate. She froze, glancing around, until her eyes landed on a small shadow near an old green dumpster. Curiosity pulled her closer. There, curled up against the cold bricks, was a tiny puppy, its ribs showing, its fur dull and matted. It lifted its head weakly, eyes filled with fear and exhaustion. Emma's heart ached. Without thinking, she knelt beside it, her little hands trembling. As she reached into her school bag, she pulled out her half-eaten sandwich and gently placed it before the puppy. The pup hesitated, sniffing cautiously, then devoured the food with trembling bites. Emma smiled through watery eyes. "It's okay. You're safe now," she whispered softly. For the first time, the puppy's tail gave a faint wag. That moment, simple yet powerful, was the beginning of something beautiful. In that quiet alley, surrounded by walls of neglect, a little girl and a forgotten life found each other. For the next few days, Emma couldn't stop thinking about the puppy. Every afternoon after school, she'd sneak back to that same alley carrying scraps of food hidden in her lunchbox. The puppy, now responding to her gentle voice, would wag its tail the moment she appeared. She named him Buddy because to her he already felt like one. Emma knew her parents might not approve of her secret friend, so she kept Buddy hidden. She made a small shelter behind the garden shed using an old crate, a towel, and her pink blanket. Each evening, she'd whisper, "Don't worry, Buddy. I'll take care of you." The puppy would nuzzle into her arms, finding warmth for the first time in days. But secrets never stay hidden for long. One night, Emma's father noticed food missing and soft whimpers echoing from the backyard. Curious, he followed the sound, only to find his little girl sitting cross-legged beside a trembling puppy. For a moment, he stood silently, watching the tenderness in her eyes. When Emma finally saw him, she froze, ready for scolding. But instead, her father knelt beside her and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "He needs help, doesn't he?" he said softly. Emma nodded, tears brimming. That night, under the dim porch light, the rescue truly began. Not just for Buddy but for the family's hearts, too. The next morning, Emma and her parents carefully placed Buddy in a small cardboard box, lined with an old towel. His eyes looked brighter, but his fragile body still trembled. They drove to Dr. Harris, the town's gentle veterinarian, known for his calm voice and kind eyes. As they entered the clinic, Emma held Buddy tightly, whispering, "It's okay. We're here to make you better." Dr. Harris examined the puppy carefully, his expression shifting from curiosity to quiet concern. He ran his hand gently over Buddy's thin ribs, then sighed softly. "He's been through a lot," he said. "Malnourished, dehydrated, and these scars. Someone hurt him." Emma's small hand tightened around her father's arm, her eyes filled with tears as she looked at Buddy lying weakly on the table. Dr. Harris smiled reassuringly. "But he's a fighter. With care and love, he'll heal." He handed them medicine, special food, and a note of encouragement. "He's lucky to have found you." Over the next few weeks, Buddy's transformation was remarkable. His fur grew soft again, and his eyes, once dull, began to sparkle with life. Yet, something unusual emerged. Buddy became fiercely protective of Emma. He would sit by her side, alert, watching every shadow. No one knew then that his instincts were about to save her life. One sunny afternoon, Emma begged her parents to let her play outside. She ran toward the quiet alley where she'd first found Buddy, her laughter echoing between the brick walls. Buddy trotted close behind, tail wagging, but something in his demeanor seemed different. His ears perked, his body tense as if sensing danger nearby. Emma picked up a small ball and tossed it toward the far end of the alley. Buddy barked sharply and darted in front of her, blocking her path. "Buddy, what's wrong?" she asked, giggling. But his barking grew louder, urgent, desperate. Suddenly, a loud crack shattered the calm. A loose section of the old brick wall collapsed right where Emma was about to step. Dust filled the air. Emma froze, eyes wide. If Buddy hadn't stopped her, she would have been crushed. Her father, who'd been watching from the porch, came running, scooping her into his arms. His heart pounded as he looked at the rubble, then at the trembling dog still barking. "He saved you," he whispered, disbelief and gratitude mixing in his voice. From that day on, Buddy never left Emma aside. But his behavior changed. Each night he'd sit near the window, staring into the darkness, growling softly. It wasn't random. Buddy sensed something no one else could. Something coming their way, hidden yet close. Days passed and Buddy's watchful eyes never seemed to rest. One evening, as Emma played in the yard, a knock sounded at the door. Her father opened it to find an elderly man standing there holding a faded photograph. "I'm sorry to bother you," the man said softly. "I'm looking for a dog. He used to belong to my son." Emma's mother glanced at the picture and froze. The puppy in the photo was unmistakable. "That's Buddy," she whispered. The man's eyes filled with tears. He knelt, calling gently, "Max." Buddy's ears twitched. Slowly he approached, sniffing the man's hand. Then with a quiet whimper he rested his head on the man's lap. Through trembling words, the old man shared the story. His son had died in a car accident months ago. Since then the dog had vanished, wandering the streets, refusing to eat, searching for someone who would never return. He was my son's shadow, the man said, voice breaking. Emma felt tears sting her eyes. She hugged Buddy tightly. You're not alone anymore, she whispered. Her father placed a comforting hand on the man's shoulder. He's safe now, he assured. In that small living room, grief met grace. Buddy had found love again, and Emma had unknowingly rescued a soul that had once lost everything. Weeks later, Buddy was no longer the trembling, starving puppy Emma had found. His fur gleamed under the sunlight, his eyes bright with joy. He followed Emma everywhere, through the garden to school gates, even waiting by her bedside each night. The bond between them had become unbreakable, woven through love, trust, and second chances. One afternoon, Dr. Harris visited to check on Buddy's progress. As Buddy wagged his tail and licked the doctor's hand, the vet smiled warmly. You saved him, Emma, he said softly. But I think he saved you too. Emma looked up, her face glowing with pride. He's my best friend, she replied. Later that evening, Emma's father handed her a small red collar with a silver tag. She knelt beside Buddy and fastened around his neck. Etched into the tag were the words, "Family Forever." As the golden sunset bathed them in warm light, Emma and Buddy walked down the same alley where it all began. The place no longer looked lonely. It was filled with life, with memories, with hope. A soft voiceover echoed as the scene faded. Sometimes the smallest hearts teach us the biggest lessons. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales.